I recently made a video about Pierre Poilievre, who he is and what he stands for, as it appeared as if he was a shoo-in to be the next Canadian Prime Minister. Now it's true, Canada is stepping into a new political area, especially with Justin Trudeau stepping down. And it seemed as if it was Poilievre's race to lose. In steps Mark Carney, the elusive figure who seemed to be somewhat associated with the Liberal Party, but at first alluded to the fact that he had no interest in becoming the leader of the party or the Prime Minister of Canada. That is, until he said he did. Now, all eyes are on Mark Carney, but who is he and what does he stand for? Is he the right choice to lead Canada? Today we dive into his background, his policies, and some challenges he may face in his bid to become the next Liberal leader and potentially Canada's next Prime Minister. So who is Mark Carney? Well, let's start with his early life and education. Well, he was born in Fort Smith, Northwest Territories, but grew up mostly in Edmonton, Alberta. His father was a high school principal who later became a professor at the University of Alberta. Carney himself earned a bachelor's degree in economics from Harvard University, and then later went on to complete a master's and doctorate in economics at Oxford University. So obviously he's done well, he's well educated. Now let's discuss his work life and his career before politics. After graduating, he worked at Goldman Sachs in London, New York, and Tokyo. He eventually became the deputy governor of the Bank of Canada in 2003, and later the governor from 2008 to 2013. He is highly credited with leading Canada's response to the 2008 financial crisis, cutting interest rates and stabilizing the economy. Obviously, he did not do this alone, but a bulk of the credit does go to him in many people's eyes. Then, in 2013, he moved to the UK to serve as the governor of the Bank of England, as the first non-British person to ever hold that role. He then helped navigate the UK economy through Brexit and worked on financial policies addressing climate change. He also served as a UN Special Envoy for Climate Action and Finance. So, Mark Carney undoubtedly has had a powerful influence on global economics. But what does his experience mean for his political aspirations in Canada? It seems the Liberal Party has been courting Carney for over a decade. While much of his career has been in the private sector and central banking, Carney did have a 3-year stint in Canada's Department of Finance, serving as deputy to 2 finance ministers during his tenure, Liberal Ralph Goodale and Conservative Jim Flaherty. He became a special advisor and the chair of the Liberal Task Force on Economic Growth in September 2024. He previously served as an informal advisor to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in 2020, advising him on the 19 economic response. Simultaneously, he'd served as chair of Bloomberg LP and the chairman and head of transition investing at Toronto-based alternative investment firm Brookfield Asset Management. This guy really gets around. Then, amid the hoopla of Justin Trudeau announcing that he will be stepping down as the Liberal leader, Carney officially announced his candidacy for Liberal Party leader in Edmonton, his hometown. He's positioned himself as an outsider, I believe, to distance himself from the current Liberal leadership, which obviously doesn't have their best reputation, despite his deep connections to them. Though he's never actually held elected office, many are seeing him already as a frontrunner. But what does he actually believe? Number one, let's talk about his economic policies, which is in his wheelhouse, obviously. He says that he's focused on fiscal responsibility and economic growth, and that he believes in balancing social spending with financial stability. He's also acknowledged that the cost of living and housing affordability in Canada are major issues. Secondly here, Carney is a strong advocate for climate-focused financial policies. While he supports Canada's transition to net zero emission and wants to mobilize private finance to support clean energy initiatives. However, critics say that his financial initiatives on climate action haven't produced significant results. And one of the major issues here is when people are so concerned with the cost of living, not being able to afford groceries, let alone a home, it's hard for people to get behind climate initiatives in things that they can't see. We've seen the pushback on the carbon tax lately. So thirdly is housing and affordability, where Carney says that he recognizes that housing affordability is one of Canada's biggest challenges. That goes without saying. While he hasn't outlined specific policies yet, he emphasizes investment in infrastructure and housing supply. But critics worry that he won't take enough direct action to solve this problem. So Carney has built his brand on economic stability and climate action, but can he connect with everyday Canadians is the question. Now let's take a look at some of his strengths as well as some of the challenges that he's bound to face. So yes, he's got extensive global economic experience leading central banks in both Canada and the UK. He's got obvious crisis management skills as he played a critical role in the 2008 financial crisis as well as Brexit. He does seem to be respected by business and financial leaders, which brings credibility to his economic policies. And his push for climate-conscious economic growth will definitely resonate with a certain sector sector of the population. But some of the biggest things working against him is his lack of political experience, as he's never held an elected office. He also may be seen as a bit of an elite insider with his background in Goldman Sachs and global finance, which might make it hard for voters to relate to him. And just simply being associated with the current Liberal leadership is going to work against him in part on its own. And then finally, he's been facing harsh criticism from the Conservatives, especially Pierre Poilievre, obviously. He's already branded him carbon tax Carney and criticized his financial policies. So while his experience is impressive, it remains to be seen if he can connect with voters and overcome his outsider status in politics. So is he the right person to lead Canada? His background suggests he does have the skills to handle economic challenges, which we're obviously facing. But will that translate to political success? It's up to Canadians to decide. I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Do you believe in him? Do you think he's got enough experience to run the country? Or do you think he doesn't have a shot against Poilievre? Let me know, and I'll see you on the next one.